I'm down by the garden, my plan today is just do one last really big picking, get everything out of here. The frost is coming. We are actually decently past our first frost date. I don't even know what the day is today, but it is Sunday. My husband has projects he's doing later this afternoon. It's about 10:30. My plan is to get all this picked. His projects are going to start right around noon. We're waiting for reinforcements for him to take care of his projects, but I gotta get this picked before the frost comes and just kills it all. And I just want to get everything out of here. Lots of tomatoes, lots of things happening in here, so we're just going to pick everything that's good to go. I'm also going to pick a basket of green tomatoes today because I want to make salsa verde out of my canning cookbook. I'm also going to pick my green tomatoes, or at least some of them, enough to get one batch worth of that salsa verde. So let's go ahead and get going. I do have a bucket here. I'm going to send some of my kids out to pick all these cherry tomatoes. I'm not going to worry about those right now because I can't really preserve those. Well, you can, but I don't, because we don't like them preserved anyway. I have tried preserving them. I did that last year and it just didn't work out for us. So I'm gonna grab a milk crate and get picking. This is where we put one trellis up. The problem was we put our trellis up way too late in the season. We really should have done it right after we put our plants in, but we let our plants get really big before we trellis them. So now we know for next year we're going to trellis them right after we plant our tomato plants. I love this. My husband was really unsure about it, but it kept the tomatoes a lot cleaner, kept them off the ground, which is something that we really needed. So I'm really enjoying it. So next year we're going to do it to all of our tomatoes. This year we only did it on one because we just wanted to see how we liked it. But these tomatoes are definitely a lot healthier looking than the ones that we didn't trellis. So I'm going to start here and just pick whatever is good to go. So I have a couple pepper plants here. I know they're hard to even see because the weeds have just taken over. At this point it's basically a weed garden with some vegetables in it. But I have a lot of these itsy bitsy little peppers, and I even still have some flowers coming on these. If you've watched some of my other garden videos, you know we just had a really late year for a lot of things. I'm not really sure why, but it's still really warm for this time of year. What's happening right now for us is we're still having pretty warm daytime temperatures, sitting around even like 60, 70, pushing 80 degrees. But at night the temperature is just dropping. We're hitting 40s. It's pretty cold. I think the peppers are pretty stunted from that. So I'm just kind of picking any peppers that are big enough to get something off of. I had a great pepper harvest this year, great tomato harvest, anything better than I've ever had in any of my other gardens in previous years. I just processed a ton of peppers this morning and I'm gonna have more, which is really great. These 4 plants I think are pretty much done. I have some baby peppers on here. I'm just gonna let them go. We'll see what happens. I might be able to grab some peppers off of them. If they grow and they're not big enough for us to use, I'll just give them to chickens. The chickens will eat them. But I have 4 more plants on the other end of the garden. We're gonna go check and see if I can get any peppers off of those. We'll put the peppers and top off our milk crate here with tomatoes and peppers. And then I'm gonna grab a separate milk crate, grab some green tomatoes. A pretty prime example that just because your garden is super overgrown and full of weeds, that doesn't mean that the food that comes out of it is going to taste any less delicious. This is a lesson I've really learned over this garden season, especially with this being the first summer in a while that I have had a baby, and just realizing that I can't get to absolutely everything, and I prioritized making memories with my kids over the garden, but the food still came out super delicious, and this was the best tomato harvest I've had ever. These are the best my plants have ever looked, and same with my peppers. I remember the first year I had a garden here, I didn't film anything to do with that garden, and my pepper plants were flimsy and sad, and they were really sad looking. They were kind of pathetic, but I've gotten way better and I've grown so much as a gardener since then. And the best thing about this season for me was being able to have so many tomatoes and so many peppers that I was actually able to gift some to family who didn't have that great of a tomato harvest this year, and usually that was myself. None of those peppers were quite big enough, but if I can hold off probably for another week or so, I think I'm definitely gonna have another harvest of peppers, which is really great. put more in the freezer. I just put my first batch of peppers in the dehydrator this morning. I haven't dehydrated any peppers yet this season. We like to have dehydrated peppers for anything like stews, crock pot meals, anything that's gonna simmer for a long time in broth or any sort of juice. I'll throw those dehydrated peppers in because I just keep them right on the back of my stove, and we can throw them into whatever we're doing. We also like to use dehydrated peppers and onions when we're cooking in a cast iron skillet. Those are really great too because they rehydrate in the fat of the meat that we're cooking, and they taste so good. So now I'm going through, I'm just gonna find my green tomatoes. I don't need a ton. I only want to do one batch of this salsa verde. I've never made it before, so I don't know if it's gonna be any good, if we're going to like it. So I just need probably enough for, I think the recipe calls for 12 cups. So not a crazy amount of tomatoes, but enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick those. I already started grabbing a couple here, get these in the milk crate, and then we're gonna go to the other parts of the garden. And I know that I have some side shoots of broccoli that we can grab and see if there's any other surprises over there. This is where I'm at for my good tomatoes. The truth is, I have a lot more tomatoes down here. A lot of them the chickens have gotten to, which is totally okay. I kind of just let them go through the garden and do what they wanted because I had so many tomatoes this year. I wasn't really worried. I'm definitely finding way more tomatoes now that I'm looking for green ones, and I'm like really searching. One of the issues is when the garden looks like this, it's hard to see things and you miss things. That's okay. I've got so many tomato products on my shelf. I'm really happy with where I'm at this year. So whatever I don't pick, the chickens will enjoy, or it'll just compost into the ground, get the soil ready for the next year's garden, and I'm really okay with that. I already have 250 pounds of tomatoes in my freezers that I still have to deal with. So if I miss a handful, I'm not worried about it. But we got a crate full of green tomatoes, a crate full of red tomatoes. This is my broccoli plant. I've got a ton of really great side shoots on here. Definitely not enough that it would be worth preserving, but definitely enough where it would be a really nice side for a meal. I have a couple more broccoli plants down the way. I also have some Brussels sprouts down here. This is where my brassicas were, so all of my cabbage and things. So I'm gonna get these picked and we'll see what we end up getting. I pulled a couple of my carrots because I was curious. They're not terrible, but they're not great. We don't have great soil for carrots, so we've never had anything much greater than this, but we're gonna fix that, I think. Over the winter, we're gonna make some plans for a really nice garden bed for next year, but not too bad. I also found this really big broccoli head hiding. So we got a good side of broccoli, a couple carrots, lots of tomatoes. My squash aren't anything to write home about. They, like everything else in the garden, didn't really take off until just recently. I'm just starting to get some pumpkins and some squash, which means they probably won't be good for eating for us, but they'll be good for the chickens, which is totally fine. My rutabagas got eaten out by some sort of maggot, so I'm gonna have to research that and figure out how to fix that for next year as well. But not too shabby. I'm gonna check my onions really quick, but other than that, I think I'm just about done down here for today. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with me in one last kind of hard push towards garden season and preservation. I will definitely still have small harvests out here, but I think this is probably going to be the last decent sized one. So I'm really happy about that, excited that garden season is kind of coming to a close. Always really sad, but happy that fall is coming and different projects get to come. We're heading into hunting season. The salmon run, the fall salmon run is coming up. So excited about that. So sad that this season is ending, but a new season is beginning. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with me. It means everything to me to see you guys here. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will catch you guys in the next one, probably in my kitchen. Bye.